There's a moment a lot of people are having right now. You're scrolling through the news, you're listening to a conversation at work, you're sitting at the kitchen table late at night, and you notice this quiet tightening in your chest. It's not panic, it's not drama, just this sense of something is off. Things don't quite make sense anymore. The rules that you thought were solid seem to be shifting, and you're not sure what to trust, either externally, what's out there in the world, or what's going on inside yourself. And you might not even be thinking of anything specific. It's more like this background hum of disorientation, a sense of the ground that you used to stand on isn't where you thought it was. And that's what we're going to talk about. Not politics, not predictions, and certainly not reassurance. We're going to talk about how to stay oriented when the world feels unstable and where stability actually lives when external circumstances are unreliable. Hi, I'm Leezá Steindorf. I'm an international leadership coach, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. And for decades, I've been helping people around the globe think more clearly, trust themselves, and stand in their strength and integrity even when things get tough. So this isn't about calming yourself down or pretending that things aren't intense. And it's not about finding the right worldview. It's really about learning how to come back to yourself and using that as a practical internal guidance system that you can rely on when things are in flux or even chaotic. Yeah. So if this kind of grounded, usable orientation is helpful to you, you're welcome to subscribe because all these videos that I put out are designed to work together. And I want to start with a moment that caught me honestly by surprise. So it was recently I was in a conversation with someone that I deeply respect, smart, thoughtful, well-informed, and we were talking about the state of the world, not arguing, not even debating, just naming what we were seeing. And at some point I noticed something subtle happen in for me. I stopped listening. Unusual for me, right? And maybe they didn't even notice. Maybe I even still looked present, but internally I'd shifted into this kind of bracing, if you will, a tightening. And I had this urge to figure out where do I stand in all this, right? To land on some position that felt solid to me. And the strange thing was that nothing had gone wrong in the conversation. No one had crossed a line. No one had said anything alarming. Like there was no conflict or tension. But internally, I felt unsteady. And what I was reacting to wasn't the content of what was being said. It was a realization for me that there wasn't a clear, stable narrative anymore, one that I could lean on or orient myself to. And that's the part that people don't talk about. We tend to think that instability comes from chaos or conflict or even danger, right? Something that's happening out there. But often, what actually destabilizes us is this loss that we have of a reliable external reference point. The stories that we used to rely on about how things work, who's in charge, what makes sense, they start to crack, fracture, shake, whatever. And suddenly, even intelligent, capable people feel disoriented. But here's a really important distinction. Yeah, so coming back to my conversation, what actually happened in that moment was simple. Someone was simply sharing their perspective, but I added the meaning. The meaning I added was if I don't know where I stand on this, I might lose something. Or if I don't have a viewpoint to share, I'm going to be lost forever. And that meaning wasn't wrong. It's actually kind of human when things get all mixed up. But here's the thing, it wasn't a truth. And it wasn't even accurate to my experience because stability was never located in having that right interpretation of the world or knowing what my viewpoint is. It's located somewhere completely different. And I noticed it first in my body. That's where I go. That's where I find that it's the ground of our being. So there was this subtle forward lean, almost imperceptible, like I was reaching for something, or there was a sense of urgency, like mentally scanning, what do I believe? Where do I stand? And when I noticed that, I did something very simple. I simply leaned back. I stopped reaching. not dramatically, and I didn't withdraw from the person. I didn't shut down. I just let myself come back into the chair, into myself, back into my breath, back into the actual moment I was in, not the one that my mind was trying to solve. Yeah? So let me pause here just for a few seconds to try something out with you because this is something you can actually use if you want to. So if you're listening to it right now and you can feel that low grade disorientation, that sense of, I don't know what's solid anymore, I don't know what to believe, try this with me. Don't change anything. Just notice where your weight is. Where are you? Are you backward or forward to a side? Just notice it and let it settle. Even if it's a hair, just let yourself sink into wherever that weight is, downward. And then notice one physical point of contact, your feet, your back maybe against a chair, your hands on the table, whatever it is. And then ask yourself one clean question, and you don't have to answer it. It's only to notice what happens. What do I actually know right now without that reaching, without that searching? That's it. No fixing. You don't need to get an inspiration. Just notice what happens when you stop trying to stabilize the world and you let yourself stabilize right here. What I noticed for myself in that moment was immediate. The urgency just kind of dissipated. And not because the world suddenly made sense, because that hasn't happened, right? But because I stopped demanding that it makes sense out there so I can feel okay. And that's the pivot. We're taught, we are trained, what either it's usually subtle, sometimes it's overt, but it's consistent that stability comes from certainty out there, from what's happening in the world. You get the job, you buy the car, you have the relationship, whatever it is, you vote for this person or you participate in that nonprofit, whatever it is, that having a clear position is going to give you that, the right, aligning with the right ideas, with the right group, the right explanation. But honestly, that kind of externally rooted stability is fragile because it depends on those conditions staying the same. And they don't. Like that's just the nature of life, of the world. Anything, everything is changing. So internal stability is different. It doesn't come from knowing what to think. It comes from knowing where you are internally, regardless of what's happening externally. And that's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm going to say it again. Stability comes from knowing where you are internally, regardless of what's happening externally. And it's a practice. So, in that conversation, once I stopped trying to land on it, some clear view of current events was really amazing. My listening opened up again. I had nothing to defend or prove or even cling to because I felt that strength. I felt that rootedness, that ground of being. And I could listen, not to agree or disagree, but to actually hear what the person was saying. And I was able to stay present without needing to resolve anything. Like I could just let the complexity exist without trying to turn it into some personal emergency. And from that place, my choices became clear, right? What was mine to do in that moment? Not convince and not correct and not try and withdraw, but what was mine was very simple. Just stay grounded and stay honest and stay in relationship with this person without abandoning myself. And that may sound simple, but it's taken me years of practice, so I'm offering it to you. The action was small, probably even imperceptible to the other person or somebody who would have been observing. I slowed my responses. I asked one genuine question of myself. I didn't fill the silence when there was nothing true to add. Nothing, nothing dramatically changed, especially not externally, but internally, everything did. Because I was no longer orienting myself against the world, I was orienting from myself. And this is the part that people miss when they talk about finding stability in chaos, right? They imagine that it means being calm while everything burns, or being unbothered, or transcending the mess. For me, that's not it. Stability means that the world doesn't stop being volatile. It means that your sense of self isn't dependent on the world behaving. Whew. Man, that's like liberation. And it's not philosophical at all. It's super practical. So when you're internally oriented, you make cleaner decisions. You may say less, but what you actually say, it lands because it's coming from that clarity. And you can act with integrity without needing to be certain or to be right. Yeah. So this is the part of a process that I call root, and it's what I teach. And it's not self-improvement, but it's really rather returning to self. It's something that you can use in real situations, not something that you have to believe in. Okay? So let's tie it all together. If you take one thing from this conversation, let it be this. The next time that the world feels confusing or polarized or unstable, pause, right? I've used the phrase, the acronym POP. Pause, observe, proceed. So pause just long enough to stop reaching, stop seeking for that external answer or rightness out there. Come back to your body, notice where you actually are, and ask yourself just once, what's steady here? Even if nothing else is, what can I feel here? And you don't need to get it right. You don't need a position. Just notice what changes when you anchor yourself internally and you act from that internal orientation instead of urgency. Okay? Try it out and leave comments. Let me know how it goes. I'm really interested, honestly, because I know I've struggled with a lot of these things and in today's world still am. And these tools are incredibly powerful and useful. And I really hope they are for you as well. So if you want to stay more grounded and clear and feel self-trusting when the world feels so uncertain, keep working on this. Take up the practices I've offered you and see how they go. And if you found this useful, you're welcome to subscribe so that you'll know when new videos come out. These teachings are actually designed to support and interweave with one another. And of course, if you want to go deeper, you need support, you're always welcome to contact me at leezasteindorf.com. Okay? So trust yourself, that groundedness you have within you, even when the world feels so uncertain. Thank you. Be well.